All right, let's dive into these silos, huh? From Hugh Howey's Silo series,
Oh, yeah.
we're going through wool, shift, and dust today.
Okay.
Try and get to the bottom of these massive underground bunkers, how they came to be, who's behind them, all that. The whole of humanity's future hinges on these things. But the question is, why were they even built to begin with?
Yeah, that's a big one. What's really interesting is that the silos, they weren't the initial plan.
Oh, really?
No. The way we find out about them is it's like a reaction to a recurring problem. Uprisings. And these aren't just, people getting a little rowdy. These come from a deep distrust of the official story about the world outside.
So each generation kind of has this instinct to say, like, wait a minute, is this wasteland really that bad?
Exactly. And that's where this guy Thurman comes in.
Okay.
Now, he was a senator, had a front row seat to all of humanity's, self-destructive habits,
Right.
haunted by wars, the threat of a nanotech apocalypse. He starts to see the silos as a way to reset, to, hit the reset button on how humans are behaving.
Not just survival then, but like a chance to fix, what he sees as broken in us, in humanity.
Yeah, got it. He pictures these silos as like controlled experiments.
Yeah.
Watch and maybe guide humanity towards some, quote, better future.
That's scary, though. I mean, who decides what better even is?
Right, and how far is too far when you start talking about manipulating people, even if you think it's for their own good.
Yeah.
This whole story is walking that line, that ethical tightrope. Now, Thurman needed someone to actually make all this happen, right? And that's where Donald Keene, a brilliant architect, totally unsuspecting, walks onto the stage.
Yeah, poor Donald.
Yeah.
Gets pulled into this whole thing without ever really understanding what he's designing.
And you see the sources really show you this inner struggle as he's putting the pieces together. Like, he's building the single stairwell. He's the one designing the deep freeze chambers, even the cleaning ritual.
Right.
Every detail is meant to control the people inside and maintain this illusion of a dying world outside.
Building a prison disguised as a sanctuary.
That's it. That's it. And the tragedy is he's not the only one making sacrifices here.
Yeah.
His wife, Helen.
Right.
She gets caught in all of this, forced to take medication that clouds her mind, and ends up leading to her tragic end.
Oh, man. Okay, so we've got Thurman, this mastermind. He wants to make humanity better, whatever that means.
Right.
Then there's Donald, the architect. He doesn't even know the nightmare he's helping to create.
Exactly.
But let's talk about the silos themselves for a second. Like, what are we talking about here, size, design-wise?
Imagine these massive structures, completely self-sufficient, levels upon levels for farming, power, living spaces. It's a whole world underground.
It's crazy to think that they built all this in secret, like the logistics of it all.
Yeah, and that's the key to this whole thing. Secrecy was crucial for Thurman's plan to work.
Right.
Even the language they used to describe the project was, like, coded.
Oh, wow.
They used terms like upsourcing, a lot of code names, all to obscure the real purpose. It's a language designed to deceive,
Right.
to stop anyone from connecting the dots.
Keep them from asking the wrong questions?
Exactly. And it goes beyond just keeping the construction secret. They controlled everything the people in the silo could learn. They have this text, this order that's supposed to be sacred, governs every part of their lives.
Right.
And it turns out that it's nothing more than carefully chosen rules and stories, all to make them believe the outside world is toxic and can't be lived in.
So they're living a lie, completely cut off from the truth about their past.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, they've got this medication that's used all over the place to get rid of any dissent, any thoughts they don't want people to have. It basically just dulls people, makes them easier to control.
So how can anybody even question anything if everyone's on this stuff?
Well, that's where Donald's story gets interesting. He's immune to the medication.
Oh, what?
Thurman actually made sure of that, which makes Donald one of the few who can see clearly.
So he's like this accidental rebel. Someone who can maybe break the cycle.
It's a real turning point, and it sets the stage for everything that comes next.
I'm curious about this relationship between Donald and Thurman, though. You said Thurman saw him as the guy who could make his vision real, but it seems like there's more to it than that.
You're picking up on something, yeah. It's complex, almost like a father-son thing.
Oh, wow.
Thurman knew Donald from when he was a kid, seemed to take him under his wing.
So he's preying on Donald's trust.
Yeah, using that connection to draw him into the web of secrets.
Yeah.
And it works. Donald, you see him wrestling with his conscience, but Ultimately, his loyalty to Themin and wanting to leave some kind of legacy for humanity blinds him to what the project really is.
Let's talk more about Donald's designs then. You mentioned the single stairwell and the deep freeze chambers. What's the meaning behind those?
That single stairwell, that's control in its most basic form. Limits how people move around, makes them feel like they're always being watched, trapped.
Like a constant reminder that there's no escape.
Yeah.
Every step you take, someone knows.
Exactly. And then there are the deep freeze chambers, rows and rows of these cryopods, each one with a person inside in suspended animation.
That is chilling. It's like these people are just pawns in Thurman's game. Their lives are on hold until he decides they're worthy.
Exactly. It reinforces this idea that individual lives don't really matter when you're chasing Thurman's grand vision.
This is a lot to process. We've got this big scheme going on, secrets, manipulation, a whole society built on control. What's the point of it all? What's Howey trying to tell us?
I think he's making us confront the dark side of humanity. Our ability to create amazing things, but also our capacity for terrible control. He's asking us to think about where the limits of power are and what happens when we sacrifice individual freedom for some greater good.
It's a reminder that even good intentions can go wrong, and the search for a perfect world can easily turn into a nightmare.
Exactly. It makes you think, what would you do if you were Donald?
Yeah.
Would you just follow orders? Or would you try to break free, even if it meant risking everything?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how Howey uses those personal stories, like Donald's wife Helen, Thurman's daughter Anna,
Right.
to show us the human cost of this whole experiment.
Yeah, Helen's story, man, it's rough.
It is.
She represents that desire for the truth, not just accepting what the silo tells you.
She had those wilder thoughts,
Right.
but those were just signs that she could think clearly. She could see through the medication, through the propaganda.
It's just sad that her questioning led to how things ended for her.
Yeah.
Remember that scene in Wool where she sends Donald that message from Tennessee?
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
It shows just how confused she was.
Yeah.
She's right outside where they built a silo, but she thinks she's in Tennessee.
Right. It shows how deep the manipulation goes.
Warping their sense of place, even.
It really does.
And Donald doesn't even realize she's so close.
No.
Shows how disconnected they've become because of the medication and the silo's stories.
Yeah, they can't even connect.
Her death, that's orchestrated by Thurman to protect his project.
Right.
That's a turning point for Donald.
It is. It breaks through that naive belief he had in Thurman.
Yeah.
Forces him to see what he's really helped to create.
Now, Anna, Thurman's daughter, she's a bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
Deeply involved in her father's plans, but it feels like she's got her own agenda.
What's interesting about Anna is she seems to understand the system better than anybody. Knows how to work it, use the rules to get what she wants.
We see hints of that in Shift, right? When she's helping Donald design the stairwell.
That's it.
That one little detail.
It's small, but it shows she gets how to use the physical space to control people.
And then in Dust, she's key to Donald getting out of deep freeze.
Right.
Leaving those clues for him, guiding him towards the truth.
Yeah, it makes you think maybe she doesn't agree with everything her father's doing.
Right.
Or maybe she sees a different way to get to his goals.
It adds so many layers to her character.
Yeah, you never really know whose side she's on.
Speaking of layers, let's talk about Silo 17.
Okay.
Plays a big part in Dust, right? Juliet, the mayor of Silo 18, she finds it while she's looking for a solution to her own silo's problems.
Right.
What's so special about 17?
It's like a different ending for these underground societies.
Oh.
Seems like it collapsed because of some kind of toxin in the air. The same thing Thurman's scared of happening to the other silos.
Like a warning, then, of what could happen if they don't break free.
Exactly. And for Juliet, it's like a wake-up call.
Wow.
Going through Silo 17, she understands what the outside world is really like. And the threat from the other silos, especially Silo 1, where Thurman is.
It changes her. She becomes determined to fight the system.
Yeah, and it's not just her.
Right.
Through what she finds in Silo 17, she wakes up other people too, like Lucas, the head of IT in Silo 18.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah, spreading awareness, planting the seeds of rebellion.
Let's talk about those bombs for a second.
Okay.
In Shift, when we find out those resets, the ones we thought were accidents, are actually deliberate. Man, that's a shock.
It is.
Changes everything about how we see the silos.
Completely.
They're not just shelters. They're part of this big experiment Thurman's running.
He's controlling everything, manipulating people, even engineering their deaths to fit his vision.
And those bombs do double duty, right?
Yeah.
They reset the silos, But they also keep the story going about how dangerous the outside world is.
Right. It's a brilliant, if messed up, way to stay in control.
Yeah.
Creates this constant crisis, keeps people so busy surviving they don't have time to question anything.
Mind games on a massive scale.
That's it.
And remember how Donald's immune to the medication.
Right.
Seems small, but it's huge for the story.
Huge.
In Dust, we find out Thurman personally made sure Donald wouldn't get those drugs.
It shows how much control Thurman has.
Over everything.
Yeah, over every little detail.
And he uses it to manipulate even the people closest to him.
Yeah, he does.
And it's because Donald's immune that he can see things clearly, question the story everyone else believes.
He's a symbol of resistance.
Yeah.
Someone who could really mess up Thurman's plans.
Which is why Thurman gets so obsessed with Donald's report on the silos.
Exactly. It's not about what's in the report.
Right.
It's about what Donald might see, what he might understand, because he's different.
It's like Donald's immunity is a crack in the foundation of Thurman's control.
That's a good way to put it.
And he's desperate to patch it up.
Yeah, he is.
Those deep freeze chambers, they're more than just storage, right?
Right.
It's this scary idea of suspended lives.
It is. They take away people's choices. Their lives are completely in the hands of Thurman and whoever controls that technology.
And it's not just about saving people for later, is it?
No, in Shift, we find out they use those chambers to get rid of people who are a threat to the system.
That's a whole other level of horrifying.
It is. They become a symbol of how ruthless the silo is.
Yeah.
A place to silence people, bury the truth.
It's a reminder, a harsh one, that we have to fight for the truth.
We do.
Even when it feels impossible.
Even then.
Okay, let's dig into the order a bit more.
Right.
It's more than rules. It's a tool for manipulation, right?
Absolutely.
In Will, we see how much of it has been edited, changed.
Right.
They took out key information to control how people understand the past.
Yeah, it's like they're living in a fake museum, surrounded by things that tell a certain story, but never the whole truth.
And it doesn't just control history, does it?
No, it controls everything.
Their whole lives.
Work, who they talk to, everything creates this rigid society where everything's controlled.
Like an invisible net, trapping them in a system they don't even understand.
Exactly.
And it's that lack of freedom, that feeling of being watched, that leads to the uprisings.
Right. It's that basic need to be free, to make your own choices that can't be completely stamped out.
No matter how much they try.
No matter how hard they try.
Those uprisings, it's interesting how Howey uses them to show how history repeats itself.
Yeah.
In Wool, we learn they've happened every generation since the silos were built.
Every single generation.
And they all come from the same thing, doubt.
People start to question what they're told, try to find the truth for themselves.
But Thurman knew this would happen.
He did.
Uses it to his advantage, makes the outside world seem even more dangerous, justifies his control.
It's like he's playing a long game, moving the pieces to make sure his vision wins.
It's scary. Makes you think, are we all that easy to manipulate?
Maybe we are, on some level.
Yeah.
We all want things to make sense. We all want a purpose.
And people who know how to use that, they can be incredibly powerful.
It's a warning. We have to think critically, question authority, not just believe everything we hear.
We do.
Let's shift gears a bit, talk about the silers as incredible pieces of engineering.
Okay.
These are massive, self-sufficient structures designed to keep people alive forever.
It's mind-blowing to think about the technology, the resources that went into building them.
In Wool, we get glimpses of the different levels, the farms, the workshops, the living spaces.
Right? It's a whole world down there.
A world within a world.
They have systems for everything. Waste management, air filtration, even mimicking day and night.
It's impressive, but also kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
We see how creative humans can be, but also how those creations can become traps.
The silos really represent both sides of that.
Yeah.
Our ability to innovate, but also the danger of power and control.
It makes you think about the people who design and build these systems.
Yeah, their responsibility.
Donald's story is a perfect example. He starts out naive, but ends up being part of this oppressive system.
It shows that good intentions aren't enough. We all have to question the systems we're part of.
We do.
Remember those cleaning rituals?
Yeah.
They're more than just symbolic, right? They're this connection to the outside, the world they're both scared of and long for.
Right.
In Wool, we see Holston. He wants to see the outside, and they send him to clean on.
A death sentence dressed up as a heroic sacrifice.
The suits, the cameras, the countdown, it's all designed to make the environment seem toxic and deadly.
Yeah. But at the same time, you feel that longing. These people are risking their lives just to get a glimpse of what's beyond the silo.
It's that basic human need to connect, to experience something more than the fake world they're given.
It shows that no matter how much control they impose, the human spirit will always try to break free.
And that's what drives the characters in the Silo series.
It is.
They're always pushing back, searching for the truth, fighting for something better, even when it seems impossible.
It's a message of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the human spirit can't be completely crushed.
So we've talked about how the silos are these incredible feats of engineering, these systems of control. But what about the actual building process? How do you even build something this massive in secret?
Oh, that's one of the most fascinating parts of this whole thing. The secrecy around how they built these silos, it was absolutely essential. They had to use code words, hidden transportation, and keep information separated so no one knew the whole picture.
So that the people building it didn't even know what they were making.
Exactly, like a giant puzzle where everyone only had a few pieces. And the secrecy, it wasn't just about logistics, it was about control. Thurman, by keeping everything so secret, he could control the story, prevent leaks, and protect the project.
It's like a real-life conspiracy theory.
Right. It makes you wonder what secrets our own governments are keeping.
Yeah, it does. We talked about the control in the silos, the order, the medication, but let's go back to those cleaning rituals. They seem like they mean more than just what we see on the surface.
They really do. They're fascinating because they serve so many purposes. On one hand, they're a punishment for anyone who questions the silo or wants to see the outside world.
Right.
But they're also there to make everyone believe that the environment out there is toxic and deadly.
Like a warning to everyone else, like, this is what happens if you step out of line.
Exactly. And yet, there's this glimmer of hope in it, too. The people who go out to clean, they know they're going to die, but they still do it.
Yeah.
Because they want something more than what the silo offers. They want to see the truth, even if it costs them their lives.
It's powerful, that need for truth, for something real.
It really is. Speaking of truth, we should talk about how they control information in the silos. It's not just about hiding things, it's about shaping the story they tell.
Right, like how the order has been changed with parts removed to create a certain version of history.
Exactly. And it's not just history. The IT department in the silo, we see this with Troy in Shift, they watch everything. Filter information, make sure no one learns things they're not supposed to.
Like the gatekeepers of the digital world.
That's it. And it's not just about keeping people in the dark. It's about making them see the world the way the silo wants them to.
Like they're living in this bubble where everything reinforces the silo's version of reality.
Right. It shows how powerful controlling information can be, especially in a closed system like the silo.
It makes you think about how information is controlled in our own world.
It does, doesn't it? Media, social media, even governments censoring things, it's something we have to be aware of.
Because whoever controls the information controls the story, and that story shapes what we believe.
Exactly.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've really dug into these silos from Hugh Howey's Silo series, explored their construction, their purpose, how they control people. What are the big takeaways here?
I think the silos give us a scary look at a possible future where humanity survives, but at the cost of our freedom and our truth.
Yeah.
It's a warning about what happens when power goes unchecked, the danger of control, and why it's so important to question the stories we're told.
But it also shows us that even in those systems, the human spirit is still there.
Oh, absolutely.
There will always be people who question, who resist, who fight for something better.
The Silo series is a story about hope, about how strong the human spirit can be, our capacity for love and connection, and how we keep searching for the truth, even when it seems impossible.
And leaves us with a question to think about. What would we do in a world like the silo? Conform? Rebel? Find another way?
It's a good question to ask ourselves because the choices we make now, they shape the world we'll have in the future.
Maybe by understanding how control and manipulation work, we can build a future where humanity survives without sacrificing our freedom.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the silos. It's been a journey, and we hope it's given you a lot to think about. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.